Senate moves Trump-backed mega bill forward after intense negotiations. In a tense and drawn-out session Saturday night, the Senate, led by Republicans, narrowly advanced a sweeping 940-page domestic policy package backed by President Donald Trump. The measure, aimed at enacting major elements of Trump's agenda, passed a procedural hurdle with a 51-49 vote. Two GOP senators, Thom Tillis and Rand Paul, joined Democrats in voting against the bill. The Senate now gears up for final votes in the coming days, with the GOP aiming to pass the bill before their self-imposed July 4th deadline. The vote came after hours of internal debate and delay, as a small group of Republicans, including Lisa Murkowski, Rick Scott, Mike Lee, and Cynthia Lummis, initially withheld support. Their votes were secured after last-minute negotiations led by Senate Majority Leader John Thune and others. Senator Ron Johnson also flipped his vote after gaining a promise for a vote on an amendment to tighten Medicaid eligibility rules for able-bodied adults without dependents. Meanwhile, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer forced a full reading of the bill, delaying proceedings well into Sunday, while preparing a flood of amendments for Monday's Vote-a-Rama, a legislative marathon where unlimited amendments can be proposed. Adding fuel to the debate, the Congressional Budget Office released an estimate early Sunday projecting that the bill would increase the federal deficit by $3.3 trillion over the next decade. The analysis forecasts $4.5 trillion in revenue losses and $1.2 trillion in spending cuts, with 11.8 million Americans projected to lose health insurance coverage by 2034 if the bill becomes law. Vice President JD Vance was present at the Capitol in case his vote was needed to break a tie, while Trump himself was active behind the scenes, calling senators and coordinating strategy from the Oval Office. This bill reflects our promise for a safer, stronger, and more prosperous America, Thune said. It's time to act. The proposal includes extended tax breaks, increased immigration enforcement funding, and deep cuts to programs like Medicaid and SNAP. The GOP also aims to raise the debt ceiling by $5 trillion to avoid default later this summer. Critics, including Senators Paul and Tillis, have voiced serious concerns. Paul denounced the bill for exacerbating the national debt, while Tillis warned it would slash billions in federal funding from North Carolina's healthcare system. This will hurt our hospitals, our rural communities, and leave hundreds of thousands without coverage, Tillis said. Trump responded harshly to Tillis on Truth Social, signaling potential support for a primary challenger in 2026. He also criticized Paul while praising other Republican holdouts who eventually supported the bill. While Saturday's vote advances the measure, its final passage remains uncertain. Republicans hold a narrow 53-47 majority in the Senate, and several lawmakers such as Senator Susan Collins of Maine remain undecided. Collins expressed concerns over the lack of progressive taxation and pledged to introduce amendments. The bill would also bar Medicaid funds from being used for organizations that provide abortions, including Planned Parenthood, fulfilling a long-held GOP goal. Whether this provision could cost support from moderates like Murkowski or Collins remains to be seen. Democrats slammed the proposal as a giveaway to the wealthy, funded by deep cuts to services for low-income Americans. Republicans made a bad bill even worse overnight, Schumer said. They gutted healthcare, food aid, and increased the deficit, all to satisfy hardliners. To bypass the usual 60-vote Senate threshold, Republicans are using the budget reconciliation process. However, they face additional hurdles in the House, where their version of the bill passed in May. The Senate version includes changes to the SALT, state and local tax cap, raising it temporarily to $40,000, which is already drawing opposition from some GOP lawmakers in high-tax states. Representatives like Nick LaLotta and David Villadao have expressed opposition to the Senate version, citing concerns over tax fairness and Medicaid provisions. The bill attempts to soften the blow of Medicaid cuts with a new $25 billion fund for rural hospitals and introduces work requirements for Medicaid eligibility. Senator Josh Hawley announced his support after securing favorable changes, but criticized the process. "If we want to be a party for working people, we can't take away their health care," Hawley said. As Republicans push toward a July 4th vote, the coming days will determine whether Trump's flagship domestic policy bill clears its final hurdles.